Alright, to begin to add the oil pastel on top of your plastic, you're going to want to see your photo side by side next to your drawing. Remember that you should have already flipped the plastic over. You should have already used the sanding tool to sand where the portrait was, and you should be able to see that that is scratched up when you really look at that closely, and you're going to leave that facing up. Okay, now you're going to work with oil pastels in a container at your table, and your goal is to try and recreate your skin tones as best as you can. So inside the bowl, I have a variety of skin tones that you could choose to work with. So I have more of this peach color. Let me peel this back so you can see it a little easier. I've got this terracotta color, or I have this darker brown color. You should be selecting one of these three colors based upon your particular skin tone, and you might blend these colors also. So I'm going to start with this lighter peach color. So I'm going to pull that one out. Then you're also going to want your white oil pastel, because we're going to be using that for some highlights. And you need to check your oil pastel, because these have been used so much this year that yours might be really dirty. So before you ever use an oil pastel, you want to clean that off. So this white is super dirty. So what you do is just kind of wipe it off in a paper towel, or you can color on the paper towel. So you can see that blue just came off. So you want to make sure your pastel is pure and not contaminated before you use it. Okay, and that one's nice and clean. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look for the highlights that are within my photo. So those are going to be the brighter spots on your portrait. So I have highlights on the end of my chin, my nose, my cheeks, my forehead, and I'm going to look at the whites of my eye. And I'm going to start with that first. So I'm going to use that white oil pastel, and I'm just going to color in some of those spots where I've got my highlights. And then definitely your teeth. You're going to want to put the white where your teeth is. And you can color right over the top of that black Sharpie line, because when you turn this over, the Sharpie will still be visible. So you can see that I just colored right across my teeth. But when I turn it over, my black Sharpie line still stands out. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of highlight on my forehead here. And now I'm going to work on the whites of my eyes. So on either side of my iris, the colored part, it's white. So you just have to kind of be patient, tip that at an angle to try to get just the corner of your pastel, and fill in those white pieces. And again, when you turn it over, you can still see that the Sharpie outline is visible. Okay, the really nice thing about working on plastic, though, is that if you don't like what you've done, you can just smear that off. So I can smudge that away if I decide I don't like that anymore, and just try it again. You could also take a paper towel and kind of clean that off. So just know that that is an option. Okay, that looks kind of silly right now. I'm going to do a little bit here, but it's going to fade away when I begin to add the rest of my skin tones. So that's how I started out this one. I put the white down first, and then I began to add in my skin tones. Okay, so now I'm going to be filling in like everything else with whatever that skin tone color is. When you begin to do your coloring, you always want to color following what's called the contour edge, or the contour line. So I'm coloring in the direction of my chin. I've curved that line to follow my Sharpie edge. This is going to give it a little more of a realistic, natural appearance. Instead of coloring side to side this way or straight up and down, I'm just following my Sharpie line. And now I'm going to follow the edge of my nose. It's going to curve here to follow my crease marks because I'm smiling, my dimples. I'm going to go around the bottom of my lip. Now, those of you using the peach color, it might be hard to tell where you've colored with these messy mats underneath because the color is too similar. So if you need to, just turn your photo over and then put that underneath as you go, and then you can see really where your color is missing. So you're going to want to fill all of that in. Okay, and I'm going to go underneath my nose, following the contour of my top lip. I'm going to work on my forehead, going around my eyebrow. Now I'm going to color in my nose. Alright, you can decide if you want to put eyeshadow on. You could leave that empty above your eye, or you could fill it with a skin tone. I think I'm going to put some eyeshadow on, so I'm going to leave that a little more blank. Alright, and now I'm going to take this paper out so you can see those highlight areas. So those white spots can now begin to get blended in. So you can see they still are going to stand out as white when I flip it over. So now I'm going to start to add my skin tone over the top of those white spots, and they're going to start to smudge and smear each other. But where the white was to begin with is going to create a blended highlight. So when I turn this over, it's softer now. It's not quite as distinct as it used to be. That's still kind of a little white for me. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm always making sure I'm coloring on the side that had the sandpaper, because that's going to help my oil pastel stick. Alright, I like that. So now I'm going to begin to maybe work on the coloration of my eyeballs. So my eyes are a mixture of blue and green. So I'm going to get the blue and the greens, and I'm going to begin to fill those in. And I'm just going to kind of do these little dots because I'm going to mix up some blue and some green together. I'm going to do the same with the green. And then I'm going to turn that over to see if it's got enough of the color I want. I want that to show a little more blue. So I'm going to flip that over, put some more blue down. I'm going to turn over and check. And remember, you can put your photo underneath to really see what that color is going to look like. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to build up the shadowy spots. So on this finished example, you can see that I added darker bits of browns where I saw those shadows in my photo. Okay, so I'm going to look for my dark brown and my terracotta brown to begin with, because my skin tone was a peach color. So I'm going to be working with, I'm going to do this darker brown to start out with. So I'm looking for the spots that have the shadows. And really, anywhere I drew a Sharpie line, there is a shadow next to it. So I drew a Sharpie line here. That's all shaded in. I've got shadows under my eyes, shadows on the side of my nose, my nostrils. Really, the corners of my mouth are shadows. In between my teeth is shadow. Tons under my neck is shadowed. So that's what I'm going to begin to add in. And I just realized I should have put skin tone on my neck. So I'm going to fill that in real quick. Okay, and then just like when we put our white down for our highlight and we blended the white into the skin tone. The same is going to work for your shadowy sections. So don't stress out if you feel like it looks ridiculous. We'll blend that away. So I'm going to begin by doing a little, and I just see I forgot to put skin tone on my ear. Okay, so I'm going to begin by doing brown along the edge of my Sharpie line because I've got shadows along here. All underneath my neck is shaded in, so I'm going to add some brown there. And then I'm going to do a little bit of brown on the opposite edge here. And then where I had creases, that's going to get a lot of shadowy spots. Corner of my nose, definitely under my eyes. Got a lot of shadows here. My nostrils I'm going to shade in. Kind of under my nose I'm going to shade in. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over and see how it looks. And then I can put the white underneath to begin to see how I've built up my shadowy spots. So if yours is really scratchy like this and you don't like that, you can always take your finger and start to smudge some of that, or go back to your first skin tone that you worked with and then start to layer more of that skin tone over it, and that can start to smudge it and blend it to take away the scratchy look. Again, I'm always making sure I'm coloring on the sanded side. Okay, and then I'm going to flip that over and see if I like it. And I do like that. I think that works out well. Okay. Then I'm also going to add the shadowy spots in my ear. And now I'm going to start to add in my eyebrows. So I've got brown hair, so I'm going to be working with my dark brown oil pastel. And that's what it looks like at this point so far.